Good day everyone and welcome to another tutorial. So today we have a different one. Today I'm going to be talking about the use of stock in your projects. Now for good reference, I want you to know that I have completed a few projects that I did not use much stock for, and I regretted it ever since. So I'm going to refer back to Exodus, which is still unfinished, as a good example of why you need to use stock and why this whole attitude of I want to make everything myself is really a bad attitude. And that's not an attack on you as a person when you feel like you want to do that. It's your prerogative to do that. I'm just going to show you why it's a detrimental attitude if you have any serious aspirations. Okay, so the first one that we're going to deal with is time. Okay, so I started Exodus, I think it was about 2014, 2015, I don't know, it was thereabouts. Or it might have even been 2012 or 2013. It's quite a while ago, okay? And it's still not finished. We're on 2024. That's not good, okay? And one of the biggest reasons why is I did not know, but I also did not go looking for free stock footage, models, images, generative add-ons. I just had no idea. I had absolutely no idea. So what I was doing is, the only one I did know of was Make Human in terms of external programs. The other add-ons I used are like the sapling add-on, the IBGen. I didn't even use the ArcViz one because it's ancient buildings. So I used the assets that I had available. I used the rock generator on Esther. So I didn't know. I had absolutely no idea. So now I'm telling you guys that there are so many free assets out there. So I started using it. So this week you noticed that I posted about a shot I redid for Exodus, which is the moonshot. Now the moonshot is for the sequence where Pharaoh says he wants the frogs to go away tomorrow, which means he has to spend another night with the frogs. Who does that? Like, seriously, who does that? So anyway, he spends another night with the frogs, and of course I need to show that. So you get the kitchen, you get the because scripture says they got into the kitchen. You show Pharaoh's bedroom, you show the servants, you show the Israelites, you show the whole people, you know, because scripture does have quite a list of where the frogs all got in and all that kind of stuff. So for the kitchen, you need shelves. Shelves are quite easy. I mean, shelves. You've got tables, you've got mixing bowls, you've got your foods, you've got your they used ovens. You've got your ovens, you've got your they use these kind of pots, clay pots, to store things in. They even had little cubbies that stood on the floor. It's quite interesting. You have to go dig a little bit around to find some of this stuff, but a lot of these things you're not going to find in stock, okay? And that's the frustrating part. So what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to in this example, you look at the hieroglyphics, okay? So you can see that the bowl looks like a plate. The giant mixing bowl kind of looks like a plate. So what you do is you go and you see, okay, on CGTrader, you type in plate free, whatever, and gives you a plate. Unless you can't find it, you look under the paid assets, you buy it or whatever the case might be, and you got your plate. So you put your plate in and you make your dough and all that kind of stuff, and you save yourself some time. Now, a plate is something you can do yourself, so that's a very simple object. But let's take characters, okay? Pharaoh had, I don't know, I don't have an exact number here. In fact, I haven't even checked it out. So let's say Pharaoh had 50 personal assistants. Let's just throw out a number, okay? It's probably more, could have been less, I don't know, I have no idea, I wasn't there. So Pharaoh has 50 assistants, so you have to make only the assistants that are relevant to the scene, plus a few in the background. So how long do you think it will take you to model them yourself, and to rig them yourself, and to design them yourself, make them from scratch? Insanely long. That's how long. One thing I've learned with modeling characters is if you can start with a good base, you only have to deal with the face and the clothes. That's it. Because Make Human is already rigged. It's already in the right proportions. All you need to do is edit it. That's it. And when you do the clothes, you already work with the shape of your character. So for example, the character needs to wear a t-shirt. Now, there are no t-shirts in Exodus, but just go with me on this one. It's just a good example. So let's say you have to do a t-shirt. So what you do is you copy the parts of the body that would be covered by the t-shirt. You duplicate them and you use Solidify to expand it. You apply it and then you delete the insides. There you go, rig t-shirt. It's as simple as that. Now, why in the world would you go and model it from scratch? It's insane. It's absolutely insane. So you waste your own time and you waste so much time doing this kind of stuff. I wish I could go back and just use stock. I kid you not. Now, the thing that comes in here is you say, well, I don't know where to find these things and I can't even afford them if I have to buy them. Fair enough. I can't buy a lot of them either. In the business that I work for an ad agency. Absolutely love my job. It's the best thing in the world. We use mostly free assets and we have to repurpose them. We have to make them our own. So the way that you do that is, let's say you get a house, like in the video you're watching right now. Let's say you get a house. You have to make that house fit your project, okay? So let's talk about the movie Mr. Deeds, for example. I think that's a very good example here. She lied to him. She said she was from Winchesterton Fieldville, Iowa. You know, it's just around the corner. And there was this big white house with the blue shutters and the red door and the tire swing in the front yard. You're not going to find that necessarily on CGTrader. So what you do is you go online and you find whatever is closest that won't take you super long to edit it. If you can't find it within a reasonable amount of time, you can set yourself like 30 minutes or whatever the case might be, then you proceed to model it. And this is the tricky part. Only model it to the extent that you will be using it. There's this one music video that I proposed to one of my absolute favorite local singers, where there are various, I think it was Spanish buildings. And the one building has to be burnt out, has to be on fire, and has to be whole. Okay? And you have to be inside the house because there are a few scenes inside the house. So you have a production choice here. Okay, you have to either build the scene separate, which is just a little box scene, or you can build it into the house. Now, the only reason to build it into the house, and you can even get around this, is when you have to move from outside inside, or you have to move from the inside outside, or you have to move from window to window. There are ways around this, but you know, that's the only reason to really combine these things. In most cases, separate scene for the inside, the house is just a block with windows that reflect completely the outside. So only model what you see. So getting back to stock, how do you use images? Okay, you can use images for backgrounds, like plates. You can use them for outside spaces, which is a very smart use. Let's take Exodus again, for example. Now Egypt looked different then than it does today. There was a lot of palm trees. I think there's still a lot of palm trees. There's a lot of palm trees. They had a lot of farming. So it would have appeared a lot more country, for lack of a better term. So you have a lot of trees. You have, you know, the river, which has its rise and fall within seasons and all that kind of stuff. So how would you create that? So you can either go online and you can purchase images of Egypt that fit the scene and the style of your project, or you can paint them, or you can use generative AI or whatever the case might be. In this case, I would think generative AI would be the smartest move, since you can't really do these things by hand. You know, they take way too long. So what I would suggest in this case is find a photo that you can use, and then you run it through something like Stable Diffusion, Midjourney, or whatever that has image to image, so you can change the style. That would be your fastest way to do this. If you can run it locally, run it locally. It just protects your project secrecy and that sort of thing. Okay, so what else have we got? We got music. We've got music and sound effects. Now, I loved recording sound effects for Exodus, but I quickly ran into trouble because you can't write frogs from MIDI. But you can synthesize it, which I'm not really the best at. And of course, I'm not the greatest music producer. I wish my production quality was a lot better when it comes to music. Oh my goodness. I'm just not there. So for music, I'm using the YouTube audio library. And for the sound effects, I've recorded 99% of the sounds that I needed. I'm talking about lightning and thunder. I'm talking about flies. I'm talking about footsteps, water. We had a river at one point in the backyard, so I was able to, you know, get running water from a river. I made the splashes. I threw glass and pot stuff on the ground to get that kind of stuff. It was absolutely a joy to do. I was absolutely so much fun to do. Just for the experience, do a few sound effects on your own. Just absolutely do it. It's super. Now, some sounds you're not going to find, so you'll do those and have an absolute blast doing them. I also shared in one of the vlogs how I make some of the sound effects. One of the sounds that I'm still the most fond of is I needed sound for this lizard thing. I'm sure you guys remember it. I had to do sound for this lizard thing. And you know, when it comes to animal sounds and it comes to stuff that's really hard to find, it's really rare for it to be free. So you're gonna have to do it yourself. Now, my dog, rest his poor soul, loved to chase me around the house. So all I needed to do was set up my camera, and I used my phone. Set up my phone close to where he would stand, and then I would just have to initiate him chasing me around the table, and then I would have a growl. So you can be really creative with that, so you don't have to use stock for that. But for stuff that you don't get easy access to, like the frogs, for example, you have to use places like Freesound. You have to use places like Envato. You have, not sponsored by the way. You have to use places like Shutterstock, or even some of Adobe's stuff. You know, you have to be creative and find what you can't create yourself. And this is where the balance comes in. When you're doing a big project, you have to see what you have available. You have to see what you can do. You have to see what you can't do, and really plan this thing thoroughly. Now, being a newbie or whatever, like I was and in some aspects still am, you can't know everything. You just can't. So sometimes you're gonna miss something, you're not gonna know. So don't beat yourself up over that. But the best thing to do would be to take stock of your project before you get started. So you know what you can produce that, find what you need, find that, and start putting it together. Simple as that. Stuff that's gonna be tricky, and this is where tutorials come in, which I don't consider stock, but it's kind of like a category on its own. You're gonna have to learn a lot. Before I started working on Exodus, and I mean, it was a long time before I started working on Exodus, I had to watch tutorials upon tutorials upon tutorials about filmmaking, visual language, and anime. You know, there are so many video essays on YouTube about visual language and stuff. Check that stuff out. You're gonna have to educate yourself. You're gonna have to know how to use these things to communicate effectively. It'll only bring the best out in your project. And if you think you are smart enough, you have seen a lot of movies, you can do this, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. You're absolutely wrong. I had to go watch those things because I was clueless, and I didn't know how clueless I was until I watched those things. So I'm telling you right now, you're wrong. Go watch videos. Okay, so what else have we got? Okay, so now we are going to get into premium versus free. So premium models are not always better. I know that's kind of a controversial thing to say, but sometimes your free assets are generally higher quality. Let me explain. When you join a platform like CGTrader, they often encourage you to upload a few free models, at least one, where you showcase your ability so that people will support you when they need the more premium stuff that you put out. So often there are simpler models because you don't want to give the best away for free, just don't. But you do want to showcase what you can do. Of course, I have a lot of free stuff available, so that one wasn't even hard. I still like to put stuff up for free, but I haven't put something up in a while. But be that as it may, when it comes to CGTrader, at least, you get really, really, really good free stuff. No joke, okay? When it comes to Pixabay, though, while its standard is a billion times better than Morguefile, which is also a great place, by the way, while its standard is a lot higher than Morguefile, it's still not the same as premium stock. Now, premium stock shines when it comes to images and video, and music as well. So the YouTube audio library, a lot of people dunk on the YouTube music library, and I have to disagree. If you take the time and you know how to search, you'll find good stuff. You absolutely will. I've found a lot of great stuff that when I put it into the edit, it fit the edit like it was written for the edit. The catch for you is you have to find stuff that matches the style that you're going for. Okay? That can be electronic. So let's say you're doing this futuristic sci-fi Tron-esque kind of thing. Then you need something that's very techy. Not necessarily. I mean, you can take it in a different direction, but I'm just going for the first thing that kind of comes to mind. Or let's say you're doing something that's more rainbows and smiles and candy and whatever, you know, very, very cutesy kitty, My Little Pony kind of stuff. Then you're going to use a lot of xylophony, clickety clack kind of stuff, you know. So you're not going to stick some cinematic suspense thing in there. It makes no sense. You're not going to do that. You're going to find something within the style that you're working in. Otherwise, you're going to clash. So if you really know how to search a library and you know what's available and you take the time to listen, you'll find the stuff. You absolutely will. It's just a case of sitting down and listening. There are a few really, really good composers in there who do require credit, by the way. I usually pick the ones that don't require credit. There are a few require credit that are really, really good. So check it out. Check it out. Absolutely. Now, getting back to the point where premium versus free. When it comes to premium content, again, I would say go for premium if you can, but you're gonna have to watch your budget. If you can't afford $2.99 for, and when I say $2.99, I'm talking about $299, not $2.99. If you can't afford like $300 for a pack of houses or a pack of extras, you know, characters, or a pack of animals, or whatever the case might be, go for something simpler, find them in pieces free, break it up so that you can put it together yourself. Do note that when you source models, sometimes they're blank, even if they are premium. We've actually had that happen. You have to remember that Blender is only compatible with certain formats. So you can't pay for a very expensive 3ds Max model because it's not going to work. You're wasting your time. Let's say you're using Blender, okay? Then it's not going to work. What else? When it comes to stuff like Make Human, textures work, but you're you're generally going to want to replace them. On the forums, the Make Human forums, you do find links to better skin textures and stuff. So I recommend going to the forums and finding those. Some of them have different licenses, so just check your stuff out. Okay, so that's premium versus free. So stick to your budget, get what you can't afford, and what you can't find, that you model. That's generally the best way to go about it. Okay, so we also spoke about AI. So let me talk about this thing for a second. When you put images in a window, okay, and this is rarely taught for some reason, I don't know why, but when you put an image in a window, please don't stick it on a window. It's the most unrealistic thing you can find, and it's to a lot of people, it draws your attention immediately. And let me explain to you why. It's unnatural. Okay? The reason why the buildings on the Spider-Verse movie was so popular, and I'm talking about a background element, was so popular is because the windows had depth. Okay? When you stick an image on a window, it has no depth. Even if it's just an image, it has no depth. So what you need to do, and this is something I learned from a work colleague, is you want to push it out in a round way, you know, like a cylinder, so that if you move around in the space, you see something different as you move. It's not perfect, but it will fool the back of your mind. It'll feel like there's something outside that window. Another trick you can use with windows is to blow out the image. Whenever you're using a camera inside and you look outside, it's usually washed out. If you're standing inside and your eyes are adjusted to the light on the inside and you look outside during the day, you'll see that it's very washed out. So what you need to do to get that washed out look is you use, in Blender at least, a use saturation and value node. And you put that value at like 5 or 6 or 7 to just blow that thing out. It looks absolutely perfect. Don't try to do this with your HDRIs. Please don't. Usually those HDRIs are so high res. It's not practical. Most of you listening right now, okay, most of you listening right now are using your personal computers to do these things. Now, some people would say, oh, the RTX cards go for peanuts these days. It's a lie. They're expensive. It would be great to have one, but it's too expensive. Only people who get grand stock like that. The people who have to pay for it themselves know it's too expensive. Goodness. Not everyone, but I mean your average person, they just can't afford those things. So when you get these people who talk at the schools or whatever, and they say they run to 4080s or 49s, whatever the case might be, and people go, ooh, wow, that's so cool, whatever. They're surprised, and it's because they get grants, they make big money, they have the resources to do this kind of stuff. Your regular people do not. So if you are like everybody else in that boat where you just can't afford that kind of stuff, don't feel bad. You just have to use the resources you have. Goodness, that's a rant. Okay, so you have to blow out that external images and all that kind of stuff. So when you have to light your scene with an HDRI, use the low res ones. There's a really, really, really awesome resource for free HDRIs, and that is Polyhaven. You have to check out Polyhaven. It's an incredible, incredible, incredible resource. Again, not sponsored. None of the people I name have sponsored this video in any way, shape, or form. So it's just stuff that I've been in contact with. It's stuff that I've browsed. It's stuff that I've used. So I know they're good, Okay, so my last point I want to talk about is the dangers of copyright. So some of you might go, oh, things have changed today. I can upload anything I want to and nothing happens to me. Yeah, you can write that on the wall of your cell when you get arrested. Many people think that they can get away with violation of copyright just because of cultural norms. Okay, so what happens with a lot of stock sites is they do have unlicensed content. Okay, if the site is user-generated content, it's got a ton of unlicensed content on it. Okay, this is a very serious warning. I don't want to sound like a broken record. You know, people have called me Captain Copyright before because I'm so overly careful. But you don't want trouble. You really, really don't want trouble. So you will find Disney characters, you'll find Nintendo characters, you'll find Marvel characters, you know, the big ones. You'll find a lot of anime characters. It's a minefield. It's an absolute minefield. So when you look for stuff there, be careful. Just because you see Vegeta on Pixabay does not mean Vegeta is now allowed in your project. It doesn't work that way. I would not touch it with a 10-foot pole, and I don't recommend you do either. So please be careful. Okay. Another example. And I haven't seen this yet, but it's coming to me right now, so I'm sharing it. Is when you browse for music and something sounds a little too familiar, steer clear. Just follow your instincts on this one. Steer clear, because let's say something. Okay, I'm going to use this. There was a case a few years ago. A lot of you know 8 Mile. Okay, that was this movie that Eminem made, you know, about gangs and all that kind of stuff. I never saw it because it's not my thing. But there was this song that he released with it. I don't remember the name of it, but it had a very distinctive beat. And there was a lot of people who made a business out of sound-alike tracks. So let's say, for example, Lady Gaga's Poker Face. Okay, that was huge in the day. You couldn't take 2 steps without hearing it. The same with this 8 Mile thing, except it was probably a radio-friendly edit, I don't know. But what happened was there was a few companies that made sound-alike tracks, and the record label that Eminem was on, I don't remember who it was, sued some of these companies, and the court ruled in favor of the label, saying that the beat and everything is so distinctive that when people listen to the sound-alike track, they would get confused between the original and that one, meaning it was too close. So if you see something that's too close, you know, like this whole Mickey Mouse being out of copyright kind of thing, please don't take stupid chances. Please just play it safe, make your own content, be as original as you possibly can. Goodness knows we need some of that these days. But please be careful. Seriously. I don't want you guys getting into trouble. I want you to make your original IP. I want you to go big. I want you to build a following. I want you to be successful. I want you to make your own studio, you know, give it a random name. And, you know, for example, who would have thought about naming their studio Blue Sky Studios? I mean, that was so freaking original. I absolutely love it. So call yourself Water Bottle Studios or something. I don't know. I just want you guys to be successful. I absolutely want you guys to be successful. Use stock. Get your projects done. Get them done at higher quality, because stock will allow you to get these things done at higher quality. Let's say you suck at modeling, but you're great at animation. Stock will get you there. Because make human-based models, for example, are exceptional. Let's say you're doing a movie about aliens. You just modify the models. You modify the rigs. Then you have your alien. Be smart about these things. Really be smart about these things. There are free materials. You can get base meshes everywhere, you know. There are even motion capture files, so you're gonna have to watch some tutorials on remapping those, but you can even use motion capture. You can do this. So in conclusion, while doing this video, I recorded a time lapse, which you've been watching, of me putting together an image using stock. So in there, I showed you guys how to cover the windows. I showed you how to adapt stock to your scene. I've showed you how to lay it out. I've shown you how to customize stock assets and what they sometimes look like when you import them. So please use what is available to you. Make your projects as good as possible. Save yourself the heartache, save yourself the time, and let yourself be in the position to actually be able to retire early. I think that's one of the things that would drive most people, you know? There's this mentality, and it's not really scriptural, but there's this mentality that, you know, you have to have your 2.4 kids, you have to have the picket fence, you have to have the dog or two, and you have to work until you turn 60 or 65, and then you have to retire, and you have to rock your grandbabies because you had your 2.4 kids. I don't know what happened to 2.4, but you know, you had your 2.4, and you and then you die. So in doing that, all you did was your day-to-day stuff. Doesn't mean you didn't make really much of a difference or whatever the case might be, but scripturally you never retire. There was no point in scripture where you retired. All that happened was your role changed. Okay? So if you get your work done a lot easier and a lot faster, you will get to the point where you can make a greater difference a lot faster. So I don't want you to aim for early retirement. I want you to aim for making the difference you're supposed to make, but getting there in the easiest, legit way possible. Work smart. Don't be lazy like a lot of these people that say, oh, it's not about working harder, it's about working smarter. It's only about working smarter if you're already working hard. If you don't work hard, working smart's not going to help you. So yeah, so that's the image. I hope it's a good illustration of what you can achieve if you use stock assets. I hope this has been informative, and I really hope you see the value in making use of what's out there. It's only there for your betterment. I produce a lot of stuff. I'll put some of my links in the description. I'll put some links to other stock resources. Again, not sponsored. So please go check them out, see what's available, get your projects done faster. I want to see them. Have a great one, and God bless.